Hey everybody, just thought I'd show you around my new site, and I've come up with a couple of new techniques this year. Um, I don't know, many of you are probably aware that permaculture is a lot of hard work, and I'm not really a fan of hard work, so I've been looking at ways to do lazy permaculture. So this site here was basically lawn grass for 25 years, and it didn't have so much of a slope, so what I did is cut the sod down in the lower areas here and then move the sod up to this area here to create these berms, and these are my swales. And I'm also just going hog wild here with the planting. We planted peas everywhere for nitrogen fixers, and I'm doing all kinds of pulses and legumes this year to help prep the soil, and it's the international year of the pulse, so I'm doing a seven sisters here. We have the corn, and this is a scarlet runner bean, which is a nice edible, makes a pink bean. There's nasturtiums in here. There's also a cranberry bean, which is climbing bean. The nasturtiums are a climber as well. A lot of the corn didn't take, but again, I tried something new and put them in these little peat pots because they don't like transplant. So moving them in the peat pots doesn't disturb the roots, but the peat pots I think are a bit dry. We need to put them actually under the soil. There's still a couple new ones coming up. There's some new arrivals here. Then the squash are going in, of course. Lots of different types of squash. And I put something called a giant elephant bean. And I think that's one of them there. And they grow a very large white bean. They're a 6-foot tall climber. The cranberry bean is a stalk. Actually grows to 6 feet. And these are, this is lamb's quarter. This is one of my favorite wild edibles. I'm letting it grow. I'm really trying to get the local restaurant market interested in more wild edibles. So I'm letting them grow all over the site. And basically, everything you're looking at here is garbage. And already you would say, you know, the inky caps coming up here, good mycelial activity underneath the surface. These beds are barely a month old, and already they're constructed out of old wood, cardboard, lawn grass, and a few bags of soil just to help things get moving. It's encapsulated the old ground. We have a short-necked squash. This whole bed is squash. And these guys here are, I don't have my brassicas in yet, but they're to deter the cabbage moth. If cabbage moth sees another cabbage moth, it won't lay eggs. Now, there's rabbits and squirrels in the area, but so far there's been very little nibbling. These are my anti-nibbler devices here. They don't like that stuff at all. Anything that moves around. See, look at that bee. I like the bee. The bee is amazing. I think I'm going to get a couple more. And pollinators are hard to bring in here too. So if you look at this system, that was relatively flat. There's my water intake. We're going to be taking water from the garage next door, both sides, and the house, and feeding it into the system. Runs into the swales. So what happened here is eventually these berms roll into ditches. And as usual, there's never enough cardboard. I scored these big pieces yesterday. I got lucky. So here again, this is going to be a new berm that's made out of sod that's taken from the lower end of the field. So very little cutting, just this little ditch here. We'll smooth that out and then create these new growing areas, and it's a heck of a lot less work than tilling. And when you till a site like this, it doesn't work. You're basically just putting millions of seeds into the ground, and they come right back up. The cardboard works really well. We have a few weeds coming out. Again, here's another lazy technique. This is my garden in the box where I planted these guys over a month ago, and you can move them for quite some time until the roots penetrate the bottom of the box, and put them anywhere in the site. Same with these coffee cups. We got a couple here. I have more of these in the shed, so a couple didn't take. Not certain why. I think the system might be a little hot with all that really fresh new green grass and things in there. Might be a little hot for the little seedlings, but it's a simple matter of taking this one out and replacing it with a different one. And you can see it deteriorates rather quickly. Roots have no problem going through there at all. And those are totally inert. There's no plastics or anything in them, so they break down completely. This is the perennial food section over here. We scored this rhubarb from down the street, and I got about 30 pounds off it before I transplanted. You see it's doing really well. And these strawberries, I made a ditch. This is all clay over here for them, and then put a bag of soil in and a layer of cardboard, and they are going crazy. I'm going to expand this and take this clay out today because I'm letting them runner. And this is a baby. They're having little babies, and you can see that even while they are producing runners, look at all the berries. These guys are loving life here. Right over here, that's a red currant bush, and that's a gooseberry, and there'll be some raspberries, some other things coming in. This corner here is the low point in the yard where a lot of the water is going to collect. So I put the really heavy water loving large plants here. That's a pink banana squash there, and it'll grow 10 feet in every direction. The corn's really tough in Calgary, so you know, if you can pull it off, that's good. But I'm looking at doing other things for Three Sisters, like sunflowers, anything that can support the climbing beans. So over here, this was just flat, untilled ground. We just covered with cardboard, lawn grass, and these are beefsteak tomatoes. And this just started growing all by itself. And at first I thought it was a green kale, but I'm thinking now that it is a broccoli. You see a little, oh, we got a bug in there. A little bit of broccoli stuff happening down in there. Okay, so here again, this is, I'm not doing too much to this land because these are my lamb's quarters, and I think this one with the jagged leaf is the tastiest, and they really are good. If you cook them in light oil, they taste like a leafy asparagus, and they're good raw too. The plant, I want to work with the seed clusters before they harden this year and try to do a pesto. But all of these rows over here, this is all beans. I think I put a French yellow climber and a lot of elephant beans in there, and in the back row I did a perimeter of onions. And this is kind of a deterrent because rabbits don't really like onions, so I figured a border of onions would slow them down. I'm going to do some mustards over in this, but this site's going to take 2 years to develop. This is another wild edible, one of my favorites, and it's called a salsify. And what you do, this one has had aphids and ants on it, but these little buds, before they open, you just pick them, and they're really tasty. Now, I had some ants here, and I was considering letting this stay. There's two, well, I have lots of different ants, but these ones here, I looked at, we're building this hive last week, and now they're gone. I'm not sure if my client has done something, but I wish they wouldn't without asking me. But I just put in this English mint here, and again, that's something the ants don't really care for. So it was a deterrent to keep them sort of on this side of the garden. They're a farmer ant too, but they're also a forager, so not a bad idea to have them around, because they will take out caterpillars and other things. Now, oh, there they are, they're still here. Okay, so that is Formica ingroides. Now this little guy is incredibly industrious. Now there's about 15,000 in this hive, and I don't know why their numbers are so low right now, but this little guy can spray acid at you from 2 feet away if you bother them. So it's best not to make them angry. I'm going to let them be, and if we get a problem with them putting aphids all over the plants, might have to renegotiate. So again, a little border here of sod, and we'll be bringing water from this garage onto this site. And you can see, like, everything is doing fine. You don't have to take over a whole site. In fact, if you just the garden in the box thing is like, you get a piece of cardboard like this, and you take that garden there and whatever you want to plant in it, you put the box in the middle in any weedy patch or lawn or anything, and then just cover it with mulch, and it will do just fine. And you're subduing that land. And there are a lot of Canadian thistle here. They're tough, but you can see like this, there's very little going on. There's almost no weeds, and everything is, these are, oh, planted 2 weeks ago. It's crazy. Anyway, those are my little hints for lazy gardening, because I would rather hang out and just fool around in the garden and dig. Okay, this is my butterfly and bee waterer. I'm going to put a little sugar in that water, bring them in, and yellow. Anything yellow helps to bring in the ladybugs and butterflies. And it's interesting because ladybugs are attracted to yellow, and so are aphids. So it's that internal balance thing. You get aphids, you get ladybugs. So the site was pretty desolate, not very much going on, but little by little, we got some new guys moving in. There's some bumblebees that moved in here and made a hive under this tomato. So they're fine, and hopefully I planted a lot of wildflowers, and we'll see quite a few more pollinators showing up on the site. And this is all the raw material. This is all getting moved today. This is going to be more garden. This is a passive thermal greenhouse. It's going to be constructed right here. And again, I did pay for some of the lumber, but it's going to get glazed with all of these windows that I salvaged. Oh, there goes it's okay. I might plant some catnip for him, but it's good to have him around. He keeps the mice away. But these windows are all openers, and they all came off a job site, headed to the dump. Lots of glass here and in the back, and I probably will do another structure on the far side. So overall, you know, even though I barely have probably 20-30% of this land, but in a month or two, these beans here and a lot of this stuff goes 8 to 10 feet tall. And this is going to be quite the spectacle. Lots of color, lots of green. It's really, you know, I think the neighborhood is really behind this whole idea. And certainly my client is, because he doesn't want to cut the grass. Anyway, I'm probably not going to do a lot of work today. Just take it easy and little at a time, being lazy. So y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.